It breaks my heart. It's killing my soul. I just want those kids back.
Kay and Larry Woodcock first sounded the alarm to authorities in November 2019 when they couldn't get a hold of Lori Vallow and had not seen their autistic grandson JJ Vallow for months. As a result, Lori Vallow was initially extradited from Hawaii to Idaho on child abandonment charges. 3 years later, and after a series of multiple delays to ascertain her mental competency, Lori Vallow finally stood trial on the 10th of April in Idaho. She's been charged with killing her 2 kids, JJ Vallow, aged 7, and Tylee Ryan, aged 16, who both disappeared at different points in September 2019. She's also been charged with conspiring with her husband, Chad Daybell, to murder her children, and in the murder of Chad's first wife, Tammy Daybell. Since the trial began, a lot of new evidence has come up. Brace yourself for this gruesome and tragic tale of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. Lori and Chad were initially set to be tried together until a judge decided to split their cases. But it's been a long and arduous journey up until this point. Before Lori Vallow would become one of the most hated women in America, she was just your typical all-American mum and devout Mormon.
She was the mother that everyone wanted to be.
My daughter loved Lori just as much as she loved Tylee.
So how did she transform into a triple murder defendant? The trail of murders may be traced back to Arizona, where Lori resided with her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. The two had been married since 2006 and were happy together with Tylee, Lori's daughter from a previous marriage, and JJ, whom they adopted in 2014. JJ was the grandson of Charles's sister. He was an autistic and warm special needs kid who was a great addition to the family. Everything was great until Charles began to see the bright red flags in 2017. All of a sudden, Lori's relationship with her children changed. Her friend, Melanie Gibb, says that around this time, she had begun to read a lot of doomsday books by author Chad Daybell. These fictional books apparently prepared their readers for the end of the world.
She felt like she had existed on Earth several times. She felt like she had supernatural powers. In her mind, there were 144,000 people that were going to survive Armageddon. She had been appointed to gather the remaining members of the Chosen.
Without warning, Lori was said to have left her family and went to Rexburg, Idaho, to meet with Chad in 2018. Witnesses say that the two had an instant connection. They bonded over their beliefs and even began to put out religious podcasts together. At the time, Chad was also married to Tammy Daybell, who he was raising 5 children with. Lori returned home a couple of months later, but things were never the same. Charles became even more worried, frightened, if you will. He went to the police with reports that Lori had threatened to kill him.
She even said, "If you get in my way, I will murder you. I will murder you." And at that point, Charles Vallow decided he is going to file for divorce.
In February 2019, Charles filed for a divorce. In court records, he voiced his concern for his own and the children's safety. Charles arrived at the residence in Chandler, Arizona on July 11th. Charles was supposed to drop their son JJ off at school. Unfortunately, he went inside the home only to be shot dead by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. Cox called the police and reported that he had just shot his brother-in-law in self-defense.
Is he breathing?
I can't tell.
He said, "I need to report a shooting. I shot my brother-in-law in self-defense."
Is he hurt or is he alive? Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
When the police arrived at the scene, he explained that Lori and Charles got into a fight. Alex then claimed he was protecting his sister when he shot Charles twice. Lori and Tylee said they heard the shooting and told similar self-defense stories. In September, Lori packed up and moved closer to Chad by relocating her kids to Rexburg. Shortly after, Lori's brother Alex moved into the same apartment complex. This is where things got worse. On the 8th of September 2019, Tylee took a picture at the Yellowstone National Park where she was holding her brother JJ and standing beside her uncle Alex. This photo was the last known photo of Tylee Ryan before she disappeared. The morning after Tylee Ryan disappeared, Alex Cox's cell phone GPS would place him in the backyard of Chad Daybell's property for about 2 hours. Chad texted his wife, Tammy, about 14 minutes after Cox's GPS showed him leaving the property. "I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I rushed to get my rifle, but he was still walking. I got near enough that one shot was plenty. He is currently buried in our pet cemetery. On the 22nd of September 2019, this photo of JJ was taken at home, where he was wearing red pajamas, and it's believed to be the last known photo of JJ. Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend, David Warwick, were staying with Lori Vallow in Rexburg that weekend. Warwick has confirmed that he saw Alex Cox carry JJ into Lori's apartment that night. But strangely, the boy was gone the next morning. When the couple asked about the boy, Lori reportedly told them that JJ was being a zombie and that her brother had to take him away. At this point, it was clear to everyone around Lori that she had lost her mind. She often talked about people having dark spirits that she could see. She often claimed that her children had dark spirits that needed to be removed.
It pains me to say, but she would say that Tylee had a dark spirit.
On the 23rd of September 2019, the day after JJ was last seen, investigators would later discover that Alex Cox's cell phone had placed him in Chad Daybell's backyard again. While the whereabouts of Lori Vallow's children was still unknown, tragedy struck the Daybell family. On the 19th of October 2019, Chad's wife, Tammy Daybell, died. Her son, Garth Daybell, said she passed away in her sleep and that he and his father immediately called 911. The Daybell children later told 48 Hours that they declined an autopsy. According to them, the coroner informed them that her death appeared to be from natural causes.
They don't want an autopsy, therefore the coroner just signed off then and there, and then the funeral home took Miss Daybell. Is that how that works?
Yes, that's pretty much how it works.
Of course, they believed it because their father claimed she was ill prior to her death. Roughly 2 weeks later, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell got married on a beach in Hawaii on the 5th of November 2019. This shocking turn of events pointed to something more sinister. Chad and Lori must have been together for a long time, maybe even while they were both still married. By this time, JJ's grandparents were getting uneasy. Each time they called to check up on JJ, they got one excuse for the next. Eventually, Kay Woodcock went to the police. She told them she was concerned that she hadn't heard from JJ in months and asked them to check in on the children. On the 26th of November, the Rexburg police went to the home of Lori Vallow Daybell to search for her son JJ. Lori lied to them. She claimed that JJ was safe and staying in Arizona with her friend, Melanie Gibb. When the police turned to Melanie, she informed them that JJ hadn't been with her. In the process of trying to locate JJ, the investigators soon realized that his sister, Tylee Ryan, was also missing. Thus began the nationwide search for both children. In December 2019, Lori and Chad skipped town and made their way back to Hawaii. Around this time, suspicions about Tammy Daybell's death started to grow. As a result, the Fremont County Sheriff's investigators exhumed her body to finally conduct an autopsy. Later the same month, Lori's brother, Alex Cox, died in Arizona, and it was ruled that he died of natural causes. On the 25th of January 2020, the authorities served Lori Vallow Daybell an order to produce her missing children. Lori ignored this order and was mostly nonchalant, even to the press that hounded her for information on her kids. Finally, on the 20th of February 2020, Lori was arrested in Hawaii and was extradited to Idaho 2 weeks later. Even after her arrest, Lori and her husband refused to comment on the children's whereabouts, so the nationwide search still dragged on for months. On the 9th of June, the FBI, Rexburg PD, and Fremont County Sheriff's Office stormed the residence of Chad Daybell and conducted a thorough search of the property. They specifically dug in areas of the backyard where Alex Cox's cell phone had pinged the day after Tylee was last seen. In a tragic turn of events, they uncovered human remains buried in shallow graves. JJ Vallow had been buried under a tree about 50 yards away from where the investigators would find Tylee's grave. The prosecutors now believe she was buried in the same location that Chad Daybell had referenced in his cryptic text to Tammy Daybell 9 months earlier, claiming he was burying a raccoon. To make things more horrifying, the investigators continued to dig, but found no raccoon. It was at this point that Chad Daybell was finally arrested. As soon as the authorities confirmed the identity of the remains as JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, a memorial was built along the Daybell's fence to honor them. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and Lori's admission to a mental facility to determine her mental state, the Doomsday Mum case was delayed until May 2021, when Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow Daybell were charged with first-degree murder for the deaths of JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Chad was additionally charged with the murder of his first wife, Tammy Daybell. In June 2021, Chad Daybell pleaded not guilty to all the charges against him. He is still in jail awaiting trial, but the prosecutors have announced that they are seeking the death penalty against him. On the other hand, Lori had an additional charge of conspiring to murder Charles Vallow added to the long list already against her. However, the judge ruled that she wasn't competent enough to stand trial due to her mental state, so her case was put on hold. In September 2021, Chad and Tammy Daybell's children spoke publicly for the first time together. They sat with 48 hours and believed their father was innocent. According to Emma Murray, Chad's daughter, Chad was framed by Alex Cox and Lori Vallow Daybell.
He was framed.
Did your father, Chad Daybell, play any role in killing JJ and Tylee?
No. He wouldn't be foolish enough to put the evidence in his own backyard.
On the 11th of April 2022, 7th District Judge Stephen Boyce ruled that Lori was now mentally competent to stand trial in the murder case. No details about her treatment or mental condition were provided, but she was scheduled to be formally arraigned in court. On the 19th of April, Lori refused to enter a plea to the charges against her. As a result, the judge, Stephen Boyce, entered the not guilty plea on her behalf. On the 4th of May 2022, it was announced that Lori qualified for the capital punishment. If she is convicted, she will face the death penalty. On the 16th of August, Lori sat by her attorney for a hearing at the Fremont County Courthouse in St. Anthony, Idaho. Her attorney requested that the judge send the case back to a grand jury because the charges against Lori were mostly conspiracy charges and could be confused by a jury. In the criminal prosecution of Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell, Judge Stephen Boyce barred cameras from entering the courtroom. The judge fears that images could prevent a fair trial, and because he is dedicated to a free and fair trial, he announced that the news organizations would not be allowed to shoot still photography or videos inside the courtroom. The attorneys of Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell requested that she and her husband be allowed to meet in person and on the phone so that strategies and settlement options can be discussed. They presented these requests during a motion hearing, and Chad Daybell's attorneys requested that the trial be delayed until 2024, while Lori Vallow Daybell's attorneys requested that the death penalty be taken off the table. On the 7th of January 2023, Judge Stephen Boyce rejected these requests. By March, he granted a motion that the couple will be tried separately. During a hearing on the 21st of March, Lori's attorneys argued again that they would not have enough time to fully review the large amount of evidence that was turned over recently. Judge Stephen Boyce finally agreed to the requests to take the death penalty off the table for Lori. However, he noted that Lori had not waived her right to a speedy trial, hence the proceeding would not be rescheduled to give her defense team ample time to review the new evidence. While Chad's trial has not yet been scheduled because he waived his right to a speedy trial, Lori's trial took a turn on the 3rd of April when her attorneys selected 18 potential jurors for what the prosecutors described as a doomsday-focused plot. Before this time, 1,800 potential jurors were summoned by the authorities to the courthouse in late March. These potential jurors were made to complete a 20-page questionnaire in order to determine and weed out those who would be unable to fairly try the case. As it stands now, there are 12 jurors and 6 alternates hearing the Lori Vallow Daybell case, and the trial is expected to last up to 10 weeks. On the 10th of April, the prosecution and defense in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell made their opening arguments to a jury in Boise, Idaho. During the first week of the trial, many background facts were established in court concerning Lori, her marriage to Chad, and how the people around them viewed their doomsday beliefs. It was established that Lori and Chad began their relationship and would meet up in hotels while their spouses were still alive. It was also revealed that Chad and Lori had orchestrated the marriage of Alex Cox to a woman named Zulema Pastinas. Zulema confirmed that shortly before Alex died, he had mentioned to her that he may be the fall guy for Chad and Lori. She also admitted to pressing him for an explanation, to which he implied that if anything happened to him, there was a bag of money for her in the closet. It wasn't until the second week of the trial that things really begin to pick up and shocking new evidence would be revealed. Day 16 of the Lori Vallow Daybell trial. On the 26th of April, experts revealed the autopsy reports for Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow for the first time in court. Garth Warren, with the ADA County Coroner's Office, reviewed the graphic details about how Tylee and JJ died. He confirmed that the autopsies were conducted on the 11th of June 2020, 2 days after the remains of the children were found.
In a case like this, considering the way he was found, if there's any kind of injuries to the neck, it's a red flag.
During the cross-examination, defense attorney John Thomas asked how that conclusion was drawn, to which Warren revealed that a plastic bag was found over his head.
Determined the cause of death to be asphyxia by plastic bag over the head, and duct tape covering the mouth.
When describing how Tylee died, Warren confirmed that it was a homicide, but also admitted that it was a homicide by, quote, unspecified means. He explained that it was very evident that Tylee was murdered, but pinpointing exactly where or how it happened was a problem because of what her remains looked like.
We're looking for anything, bullets. Is there any portion of a knife? Is there any other foreign debris that can be found on x-rays that we could collect as evidence? These organs had severe decomposition. They had significant burning artifact. They were charred. They were shrunken. But those were the organs that I found. And presumably the rest of the organs either burned away or just were never found.
These remains were later cleaned and sent to the FBI, where Angie Christensen, a forensic anthropologist, examined them. Christensen said she received more than 100 bone fragments of Tylee Ryan. In her words, all major parts of the skeleton were represented, like the cranium, the arms, legs, and pelvic region. Christensen confirmed that Tylee was in fact dismembered. The trauma on her bones wasn't consistent with what is typically seen with dismemberment cases, but multiple sharp traumas inflicted on Ryan's pubic and pelvic region suggest otherwise. She also explained that even though the pieces of Tylee's jawbone with teeth indicated that one side of her face was more exposed to fire than the other, there was no further evidence to indicate whether or not she was alive when her remains were burned. That same day, FBI Special Agent Steve Daniels took the stand and described the search of Chad Daybell's property on the day the victim's remains were found. He described JJ's grave and how Tylee's remains were discovered close to his.
What's interesting now is just the precise way that these rocks are laid out. You can start to see the cut roots around this grave, especially the bigger roots. So somebody's taken time and effort to cut through these roots.
Day 17. On the 27th of April, the experts shared more disturbing details about the murders of the victims. Forensic scientist of the Idaho State Police, Tara Martinez, took the stand and analyzed fingerprints found on the plastic bag of JJ's body, revealing that they belonged to his uncle, Alex Cox.
Evaluation of item 11 in the lab, the black plastic with the duct tape, yielded 2 latent prints. Correct? Yes. And both of those latent prints matched the known prints of whom? Alexander Lamar Cox.
Forensic biologist Catherine Dace also took the stand. She revealed the results of her examination of the hand tools that were found on Chad Daybell's property. She had examined several shovels, handsaws, a pair of shears, a pothole digger, and a pickaxe for any sign of blood or possible human remains. She revealed that during her examination she found presumptive blood stains on the tools and what could be charred flesh on them. Dace confirmed that Tylee's DNA was specifically found on the pickaxe.
It was a variety of shovels, a pickaxe, a pair of shears, a post hole digger, and several handsaws.
Did you find anything to be that you considered to be of evidentiary value?
Yes, I found several presumptive positive blood stains on the tools, and on several of the tools I thought I found what could be charred flesh.
Were you able to obtain a DNA profile from those samples?
I was.
Were you able to reach a conclusion?
The DNA profile from item 36.1.3 matched that obtained from the reference sample of Tylee Ryan.
That same day, Tammy Daybell's sister, Samantha William, testified that, to the best of her knowledge, Tammy was healthy before she died. Samantha also testified that although her sister never told her anything about a possible affair by Chad, she did notice the sudden change in her sister's marriage.
Chad called me the morning that she passed away.
Do you recall what he told you?
He told me that she had been really sick and that she'd been coughing all night.
Did that make any sense to you?
No, because I had just seen her 2 weeks previous to that, and she hadn't been she wasn't that sick at all. She was very healthy.
Day 18. On the 28th of April, several people who knew Tammy testified to how healthy she was before she died. The autopsy report that was carried out after Tammy's body was exhumed confirmed that Tammy was killed and died by asphyxiation. On the 2nd of May, the court listened to 40 minutes of a 2-hour podcast where Lori talked about her beliefs and missions on Earth.
I too have seen the resurrected Jesus Christ, and he has told me my mission, and he has sent me to help people and lift them in their missions. He showed me myself, as a warrior in the pre-existence. As a warrior, like a beast. Like I fought with Satan. He hates me. I did all these things. And so he showed that to me so that I would know.
Chad Daybell's neighbours Todd and Alice Gilbert testified that Chad had asked to move in with them after Lori had been arrested in February 2020. Alice specifically confirmed that when she asked Chad about Tylee's whereabouts, Chad responded that Tylee didn't like him.
I asked them, where are the kids, Chad, and doesn't Tylee want a life, a job, a car, a boyfriend? And he said she didn't like people and she didn't like me.
And what struck you about those statements?
Because he said didn't.
He used the past tense?
He used the past tense.
JJ's grandfather, Larry Woodcock, admitted to the press that Lori Vallow's hair was found on the duct tape that was found around JJ's body. It really has been a long time coming. With a couple of weeks left and the case looking even more damning for Lori Vallow Daybell, we only hope that justice is served for Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow in the end.